It's Dr. Devin, and I'm so excited to have Kimberly Ekum here. She is a local, fierce, fabulous, on fire woman, mama bear. You know, in these times where we aren't as physically close in space with people, it's allowed me to get to know more people socially. And her posts and quotes and just the energy she's putting out into the social media world right now have been such an inspiration to me. So I invited her in to share her story. And when I asked her, you know, what's one thing you really wish that people knew right now that might change the landscape of what we're all going through, she said, I just want people to know how powerful they are. And so I want you to like say that again, but with your Kimberly fire. What do you wish people, what do you wish for humanity right now?
I wish people would remember who they are. I wish people remember that they're a child of God. I wish people would remember that there's so much to do here on this earth, and we have so much power inside of us. Like, when I think about the human body and I think about just all the mechanisms, how our heart beats, how our mind thinks, why do people take that for I mean, I'm such a deep thinker, so that's just where my mind goes. But the truth is like, why do we take those things for granted? I know that I did for a very good majority of my life. And I got to a point where I said, I don't want to be broken anymore. I don't want to sit in my grief and my basically not being confident and just constantly worrying, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? And you get to a point where you're like, all right. I don't need to appease the rest of the world. I need to take care of Kim. I need to take care of my children. So that's what I wish more people would understand right now is this world is seeking to divide us and make us fearful of each other. And that's the problem that I have when I came to my revelation was, just because a system says that you have to do something, it doesn't have to be your truth. Mm. And that's when I was able to change my life.
And something I'm hearing over and over through all of that is choice. Yes. We know we all have a lot of decisions right now. And sitting into the bigness of those questions is more important now than ever before. And so something else you shared is, you know, I don't want to be broken anymore. So let's hit the rewind button, because what we see in social media is where people are now, but we don't get to look under the hood of like, how'd she get there? So take us backwards of, you know, when people see you now, they see this like vibrant, you know, confident, courageous, sharing all the things. Who were you before who we see today?
So I think anytime that I share my story, it just, you know, brings back those like struggles. So, and I'm a wet person, so I might tear up. I'll try not to, but I think that's why people love me, because that's who I am. And because I have so much empathy inside of me, I just don't want to see the world be as broken as I had been. And so I grew up in a lot of emotional and physical trauma. I watched my mother more than a handful of times try to take her own life. Very, very just incredible moments that instilled so much fear in me that she was going to take her life. And so I adopted that fear, and I adopted that need to take care of other people. Because I was always fearful that people were going to walk out of my life, or they were going to die, or what have you. And so when a child adopts that fear-based thinking, it literally becomes who they are. And I was very insecure. I was very fearful of rejection. And to add more to my trauma, my freshman year of high school, which my grandparents, it's my mom's parents, were my safe haven. I went to their house a lot just to get away from the dysfunction and the chaos. And they both died 4 days apart my freshman year of high school. So it was like trauma after trauma. And I got into drugs and alcohol. I did a lot of hard drugs. It was just the way to escape this like constant like fear of being broken and not being enough. And it's hard looking, you know, talking about it, because both of my brothers, you know, they struggle too. And it's just, again, another reason why I always knew that I could do better, and I would do better, and I wouldn't be be what I saw in my family. And so I just remained hopeful that I would find a way to make something out of my life. And so I've always been a very purposeful, passionate, driven person. And I think because I always said, God, like, if you put me through all of this, like, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
So I made my mess my message. And it's kind of funny how everything becomes a full circle. So I met my husband at 20, and we had a baby out of wedlock. So kind of did things ass backwards. That's just who I am. I learned the hard way always. And with those came a lot of lessons. But unfortunately, you know, having a baby at 21 and being young, I was still very, very insecure. And I had my medical degree, and so I was a medical assistant, and so I was already indoctrinated by that type of thinking. And raising him, you know, was difficult because I did the vaccine schedule, and I beat myself up for years because I did question some of those things. But when after his first year shots, he went silent. He didn't talk until he was 4.5, 5 years. He did not sleep through the night until he was 4 or 5. He was chronically sick all the time, pneumonia, RSV 3 times, in and out of the hospital on tons of antibiotics, acid reflux. I just didn't know any better. I wasn't confident in my parenting, so I believed everything our pediatrician told us. And I was not raised, again, another reason why I'm so committed to living a natural, healthy lifestyle, because I wasn't raised that way. I did not grow up natural minded. I did not grow up with good habits and routines. And so I vowed to my children, they changed me in every which way, that I was not going to be selfish. I was going to put them first in every which way. And so when I decided around 2015 is when I started to really feel like I am tired, God. Like I'm trying to do all the right things, but I feel like I'm not. And it's kind of funny how I got into network marketing, internet influencing, and that was the catalyst for my change, because I started getting around different kinds of people, leadership, mentorship. I started learning personal development, and then that's when I realized, and that's what I love about social media. There's always good and bad to everything, right? But I think social media is beautiful. I think that's where God is prevailing and allowing us to connect with like-minded people and share our truth and get the word out and awaken the masses. Because when I started seeing posts about vaccine injured children, I started questioning it more and more. And I started really researching again. I've always been very fascinated by history and research. And so I kept educating myself and going down the holistic rabbit hole and trying new things and working with a lot of different doctors to help Brennan and just trying all kinds of things. I came to the conclusion that this was my path. It was just going to continuously unfold. And so I have made it my career really to help mainly autistic and ADHD children, because we have tried numerous things. And while some things would help a little bit, I think so many people don't realize that it's not a one size fits all. And unfortunately, because of the environment in which we live, we have a lot of things that we have to work on. And I know as a mother, how hard it is, how stressful it is. It put me into adrenal fatigue. Again, on top of everything else, I hit complete adrenal fatigue in 2017 and burnout. And I had to just stop. I literally had to stop. And I decided I'm not going to listen to the system. I'm not going to listen to the fear. I'm going to go inward. I'm going to listen to God's word, God's voice. And I've been walking with God ever since. And that's me in a nutshell.
And just, a moment of gratitude for your openness. And I know that you've had many opportunities to tell different pieces of the story, because there's so many places that we could jump into that's identifiable to countless people. Over the last few weeks, I've been able to sit in circle with groups of moms, and it's amazing the guilt, the shame, the anger, the sadness that gets trapped inside when we just keep doing the things, and that feeling that with hitting the wall and dropping to, part of what I think some of the Corona blessings is this pause and this time out from the way that things were. I mean, because you hear everybody like, I just want things back to normal. And it's like, that was not working.
Right.
And this gift of time out restores, some peace to the system for sure.
Yeah.
If we jump in at the part of self-development, what would be your top couple of things that created the biggest breakthroughs for you?
Really just one of the books that I'll forever just hold in my heart is Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. I love that woman. I love everything she speaks. And, there's a part in her book where she said, I can like Donald Trump and I can be a pro gun and I can still, just saying like, I can be all these things and you can still love me, and it's just like, I don't know. And I was like, that's my woman, because if people know my heart, like, yes, I spit fire. Yes, I've been through a lot. And but everything that I talk about and everything that I say, it comes from a space of love. Mm-hmm. And, she talks about that so much in the book. And there's a part in the book, she says, there's 3 types of people that are created out of dysfunction and mental and physical abuse. And that's, a people pleaser, hello, for a decade, angry people, and addicts. It's all 3 of my siblings, or all 3 of us. And so it was the catalyst. Like, I just encourage people, like, just don't be stuck where you are, and just think that if you say this isn't working for me, then that's God saying, all right, it's time to choose a different path. Mm-hmm. And for somebody who started and stopped a lot, it was difficult for me at first, but then when I started reading these books and getting around people who had this open-minded thinking and dreaming bigger than themselves, I was like, that's me. That's what I want to do. And it changed me.
It's contagious, and there's so much out there. And so this imperfect but perfect way to just, whether it's YouTube or Audible, of just, playing with it. Because Brene, same thing, like, I had no clue who she was, but that, the feeling of belonging everywhere and nowhere,
Yeah.
and into this wilderness of, and Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I mean, there's so many different ones that can open that up. Now, if we go back to, it's to say it's a hot topic would just be a wild understatement. But when you look at bringing up, what your child went through, and mother's intuition, and a choice to go against a grain that is so
hardwired
into all the systems, and we're looking at face to face right now, and I think what I'm watching, and I'd love to hear your perspective, is it's this division conversation where there's vax and anti-vax, mask and anti-mask, and it's this labeling system where it looks like we're here, but really on a fundamental, all we're saying is we were born perfect. And those, if you choose to, I don't actually, it's like, I don't hear a lot of the people speaking up trying to be anti. They literally just want the right to say no.
Yep. I've always said
that we live in a culture, whether it is, it's like on a fundamental premise, I just don't understand why I don't get a choice to say no.
Yeah.
Go
I've
there.
I've always said I'm not anti-vax. Mm-hmm. I'm anti what's in them. I mean, I've just always said, like, I just want to have a choice. And if I've done my education and my research and I won't give my kids carcinogens, right, through food, why would I want to inject it into them? Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and when people come at me, I'm like, come on, like, we're in the age of so much information. Stop being ignorant. Like, it almost does infuriate you when you know that your children have been harmed.
And you feel the rise. Roman had a series of reactions at his 6 month, and I just innately stopped. And it wasn't because of a book, and it certainly wasn't because of a celebrity. I hear that a lot, where it's like, oh, well, Jenny McCarthy told you not to. It's like, no, that wasn't. I just innately know what I saw and just went, that's not good. And that intuition, that thing. But there are so many resources, and I think where some of my heat and passion comes from is I wish somebody would have told me. I wish somebody would have said something. So it's not that we're hateful and angry at people for their choices. It's more
Right.
reaching back for ourselves of like, why didn't somebody tell me? And so if you're reaching out to somebody that's, you know, there's lots of people who are set one way or the other, but to the people who genuinely just don't know, they don't know and may be open to receive, what are a couple of resources that helped you come into not, you know, just awareness, but also confidence that you were making the right choices?
So, really, I'm trying to think like what kind of sparked my whole understanding. I honestly have to say the high wire, Del Bigtree.
No.
Dell's incredible, and his passion is so pure, and you can see that when he speaks. And I think that's, you know, that's something that I'm working on, because I still have some anger, and so I need to work on being a little bit more compassionate when I am speaking. And but again, it's just, you know, it's a journey. But I will say Dell was a huge catalyst for me when I started watching a lot of his documentaries and what he was speaking about. You could just tell that he was very knowledgeable. And then I got into a vaccination information group on Facebook, and it's huge. It's probably the biggest group. I don't know if you know which one I'm referring to, but it's got like hundreds upon thousands of mothers in there. And that is pretty much what brought me to my knees. And I realized that my intuition was right. And I want to say this, Devin, you're confident. You've always been confident. And that's, you know, I'm assuming you were raised well and loved well, and that's good. But for someone like me who wasn't and carried that baggage of insecurity, I wish that my parents had done a little bit better as far as that. They did the best they could with what they knew, but that is a big reason why I love teaching mothers how to stop the generational curses and work on the trauma and the emotional baggage, so we're not passing it on to our kids. Because I wasn't confident, even though I felt the nudge, I wasn't confident in myself. And I wish that more mothers would know that their children are a gift from God, and they have the right to ask questions, and they have the right to say no. So.
And I think some of that confidence comes in support. And I appreciate that it looks that way. And right, we all have our struggles of how we got there. And I was raised well. And girls, I mean, we're, you know, so self-conscious and go through our, you know, and I can look at some of my very best friends who have chosen to, you know, to not participate in the schedule, and they're very educated, they're, you know, very purposeful, but no matter who they are at the beginning, when it's, because it's challenged from every angle, you know, of like, but it's what we do, and it's like, yeah, but it doesn't, you know. And so you can take the most confident person, and when you make a leap from one foot in the world you grew up in and the world you've known, and you start to step in a world that's, it opens your eyes to a lot of things.
It does.
So that could be a whole separate video, and I have a feeling we'll get to do that one. But I think what's happening in a lot of ways, people are 1 foot here and 1 foot here, and trying to make sense, because there is an abundance of information and an abundance of misinformation. And so what are some things that you do to maintain peace and sanity and trust that you're being guided in? You know, what are some tactical things, if it's prayer, what are some things that you do to stay steady in this time of wobble?
So I adapted the kind of my mantra of non-negotiables, something I learned about 5 years ago. Non-negotiables are things that, you know, it helps with self-sabotage, something that I still continue to work on. But my non-negotiable is that I have to be in prayer and meditation and in God's word every day. I will not waver from that. So I do study the Bible every single day. I pray and I meditate. I have to spend time in stillness. And I know that's because I can really help rewire some of that trauma, the emotions that I'm hanging on to, that I can release it. I actually do allow myself to cry a lot more these days. I think it's because I've always been strong and I don't ask for help. And So for me, I'm like, I'm gonna cry today and I'm gonna get it out. And I think it's really important because it's also important for my kids to see that. So those are a couple of, I mean, while they might seem silly, you know, as far as crying, but I have been one to hold on to emotions. Yeah. And so I think it's really important to be able to release that. And so those are two big ones for me.
You can see it all over social, in friends and family, and in my office. I mean, people are, I'm okay. Where it's like, it's okay to not like
be okay.
And you know, I'll ask a final question here in a second, but I do want to pay, you know, light to, you know, you shared about your mom, you know, attempting on her own life, and the stats showed that suicide across the country is on the rise up. This week alone, this week was so heavy in lots of different ways, but I had multiple practice members that were helping them find addiction resources and get them into rehab centers, and people that are making attempts on their own life, practice members who family members have, you know, have taken their lives. It's on the rise. Mental health is in major crisis right now. What would you say to those people that are on the edge and really down, with that message of you're powerful? If you could speak through this screen directly at some of those that are just right on the edge, what would you say?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry probably. Sorry, it's just, suicide is hard for me. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No.
I've been there more times than I'd like to count. I just thought it would be so much easier. And you know, when you grow up in that, it can become an easy way, but it's not. And you leave people with so much hurt and so much pain. And you don't realize, and it's not that you're selfish, because you're not. We all understand how you feel. But you leave people with such deep wounds and hurts, and you're beautiful. I mean, like, people just need to remember, like, we are so incredible, innate, amazing, powerful creatures. Like that beating heart inside of your chest, and stop trying to be something you're not. And that was really when I could finally, like, I felt like I kind of gained my wings when I finally said, I am bold, I am powerful, I do have a big mouth. I am who I am. And every single scar is for a reason. And so no matter how hard it is right now, people need you. People need you. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And, you know, reach out to me, reach out to anyone, and just say, look, I'm not okay. Because I will be the first person. I will probably drive to your house. I will get on a phone call with you, and I will tell you that you're super special. And the world has made you think that you're not. And that's why for me, and I know Devin as well, I'm here saying it's not easy, but it's worth it. And the second that you can flip that switch and you can start to sing a new tune and really speak life into yourself, the possibilities are endless. Sorry.
No, don't. I mean, it's palpable, you know, and being, you know, when my cousin took his life a few years ago, it's just this awareness that a heart can hold that much pain. And finally, and I've heard more people than I can count say that they're like, God, I don't know if I can do this. And you can do this. And I know it sounds cliche, and I'm going to put some different links of resources, and you can reach out to her, you can reach out to me. But life has a way of taking us face to face with the brink. And just beyond that is the most beautiful freedom. Hang on. And so, you know, taking it, I mean, into the final thing that I've been asking people is, you know, there's something that's woke up inside of you that changed the game. If you could wish that woke up thing for all of humanity, and we could bop them on the head and they would get that thing, what's the one thing that you would wake them up with?
You mean like a word, or? Guess I'm not really.
it could be a concept. When you woke up to this, it changed the lens that you saw the whole world.
Really, I mean, it just goes back down to realizing when I realized that the connection that we have with this world, like just knowing that, if I'm trying to make some sense, but just knowing that like we're all one and we're so connected to this beautiful creation. And I don't know, I stopped taking that for granted, and I realized like, man, I could climb Mount Everest tomorrow. Like, I mean, when I realized that, I was like, holy cow, like I'm going to become a doctor. I'm in school now. And I'll tell you what, there was a time I never thought I was enough. I never thought I was smart enough. And I sold myself short. So I'm telling you right now, you are such a beautiful creature. And we are so incredibly powerful. We are. But we have to start changing that tune in our head.
Well, and there's so much idea around mandates and oppression out there, but what I see across the board and what I've lived is the strongest ties that bind, the most paralyzing shackles are the ones I put on, are the limitations of I'm not enough, or, oh, I couldn't do that, or, oh, this. And so that's everything. Like you said, it changed the way we see any of this, and people coming back to a state of trust with their body, with God, with their innate healing is something I know we very much share in common. So Miss Kimberly has a very active social and all different kinds of ways to sync up with her. And whether it's talking to her about overcoming, anxiety and depression and sorting through that self-development world, or talking to her about her journey with her child, we're going to make sure that you get connected to her. And I just want to say thank you. We had to make a second attempt at this because of technical difficulties, but divine timing is always at play. So thank you for taking a moment with me and with all of us.
You are very welcome. It was amazing, as always. And now my son is like, hey, Mom, pay attention.
Yeah. And to the world you return, and sending you and your family so much light. Oh, yay.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to say hi, buddy. Say hi.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, that's the best. Oh, girl, go live that up every single second of it.
I love you. Thank you.
Keep doing your thing.
You too. Bye.